Ethan had always been curious about the stars. As a human explorer traveling through distant systems, he had visited many worlds, but none were as strange and beautiful as Zythera. The planet's sky glowed in shifting shades of lavender and gold, and its cities floated above crystal-clear rivers, connected by glowing bridges. Alien creatures of all shapes and sizes walked the streets, trading, working, and moving about their daily lives. Humans were rare here. Few aliens had ever seen one, and even fewer had interacted with them. Ethan's ship had just landed near the central marketplace, a massive dome filled with shops, food stalls, and curious technologies. He walked cautiously, aware that he was an outsider. Every step he took drew stares, whispers, and sometimes open curiosity. Some aliens pointed at him while others stepped back in surprise. Humans were considered fragile, unpredictable, and often underestimated. As Ethan passed a stall selling glowing crystals, a sudden crash echoed across the marketplace. A cart carrying heavy cargo had tipped over, and crates were tumbling toward the crowd. People screamed and tried to run, but a small child was frozen in fear, too scared to move. Without thinking, Ethan lunged forward. He grabbed the child's arm and pulled them to safety just as a crate landed where they had been standing. Dust and small shards of crystal flew through the air, but both of them were safe. The child clung to Ethan, eyes wide with gratitude. Thank you," the child stammered in a mixture of alien language and broken galactic common. Ethan smiled. "It's okay. You're safe now." What Ethan didn't notice immediately was a figure standing above the commotion, watching him intently. Princess Liara, the daughter of Zythera's ruling family, was observing the scene from her royal guard's hover platform. Her long silver hair shimmered in the market lights, and her eyes, a striking shade of violet, never left Ethan. She had heard about the human visiting their planet, but had not expected him to act with such courage. Most humans, according to her advisors, were unremarkable, fragile, cautious, and ill-prepared for alien worlds. But here he was, saving a child without hesitation, without thought for himself. "Interesting," she murmured, her voice quiet but commanding. The princess turned to her aides. "Find out who this human is. He may be more capable than I thought." Meanwhile, Ethan helped the child back to their parents, who showered him with thanks. The crowd murmured among themselves, some impressed, some confused. A human had shown bravery where many aliens might have hesitated. Little did Ethan know, his actions had already caught the attention of the highest-ranking individual on the planet. Later, as he wandered through the market, Ethan noticed unusual security forces moving among the crowds, subtly observing him. He shrugged. Zythera was full of surprises, and he had expected curiosity. What he didn't expect was to be approached by someone speaking galactic common flawlessly. "You are Ethan, correct?" the figure asked. Ethan turned and saw a young alien with emerald green skin and sharp, intelligent eyes. "Yes," Ethan replied cautiously. "How do you know my name?" "I am an aide to Princess Liara," the alien said. "She wishes to meet you. You have drawn her attention." Ethan blinked. Meeting royalty? He hadn't prepared for this, but curiosity won over caution. He nodded, and the aide led him through winding streets to a sleek, elevated platform where the princess waited. Princess Liara looked at him carefully, tilting her head. "You are human," she said simply, though there was a hint of amusement in her tone. "I have observed your actions today. You do not act like most of your kind." Ethan swallowed. I just did what felt right." Liara's eyes narrowed slightly. "That is precisely what makes you interesting. Humans are often unpredictable, but you are brave. You act without thought for your own safety. That is rare." They spoke for a while, Liara asking about his travels, his knowledge of other worlds, and his thoughts on alien cultures. Ethan answered honestly, sometimes stumbling over customs he didn't fully understand. But the princess seemed intrigued, not offended. Later, Liara revealed that she was planning a diplomatic mission to neighboring planets. A mission that required a companion, someone capable, adaptable, and brave. The human she chose would not only assist her but also symbolize cooperation between Zythera and other worlds. Ethan felt a mix of awe and confusion. Why would a princess choose a human for such an important task? He was untrained in diplomacy and unfamiliar with alien politics. Liara seemed to sense his hesitation. "I do not choose based on skill alone. I choose based on courage, morality, and adaptability, traits your species possesses in abundance, though few exhibit them." You have already shown these qualities. That is why I am considering you. Over the next few days, Ethan began to participate in trials designed to test his abilities. Simple tasks like navigating alien terrain were combined with complex challenges like solving logical puzzles under pressure or negotiating with alien traders. Each task highlighted not only human intelligence but also creativity. Where aliens relied on standard methods or brute force, Ethan improvised, using his wits and observation to succeed. Liara observed quietly, often from a distance, making notes in a holographic device. She was particularly interested in how he treated others. Unlike many visitors who only cared for their own success, Ethan showed kindness to alien children, animals, and even those who were dismissive or rude toward him. One afternoon, while testing a negotiation scenario in the palace gardens, a group of skeptical alien nobles tried to trap Ethan with a complex political dilemma. Most humans would have faltered, but Ethan analyzed the situation calmly, proposed a solution that balanced both parties' interests, and gained respect from some of the doubters. Princess Liara watched him closely. She had expected humans to be fragile, impulsive, and unpredictable, but Ethan was something different. He was resilient, clever, and most importantly, morally grounded. As the trials continued, rumors of the humans' abilities began to spread through the palace and the city. Aliens whispered that perhaps humans were underestimated, that maybe these beings had hidden strengths. Some were excited, some skeptical, but none could deny Ethan's growing reputation. The part ended one evening with a dangerous incident. A jealous alien, seeking to embarrass Ethan, attempted to sabotage a test by releasing a controlled hazard in the garden where Ethan and the princess were walking. A sudden flash of light, a collapse of a structure, and chaos ensued. Without hesitation, Ethan acted. He pulled Liara out of danger, shielding her from falling debris. The princess, shocked but impressed, realized that the human was more than capable of protecting her, not only through skill, but through instinctive courage and selflessness. When the dust settled, Liara looked at Ethan, her violet eyes reflecting both astonishment and admiration. "Perhaps," she whispered, "this human is worth more than anyone expected." Ethan, catching his breath, gave a small, modest smile. "I just did what I had to do." Liara's expression softened. She had seen something rare and precious in this human, a combination of bravery, empathy, and quick thinking that no alien could replicate fully. It was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge both of them, push them to the limits, and perhaps redefine the way her people viewed humanity. The marketplace that day would be remembered, not just for the bravery of a human, but for the first spark of a bond that could change worlds. After the events in the marketplace, Ethan became a subject of great interest on Scythera. Princess Liara had not made a decision yet, but she was curious to see how far this human could go. Over the next few days, she arranged a series of trials, tests designed to assess intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Ethan didn't know he was being tested at first. From his perspective, the tasks seemed like challenges any visitor might face. The first trial was simple but tricky, navigating the floating city streets while avoiding mechanical hazards and tricky paths. Many aliens tried it before him and failed. Some slipped on the glassy platforms. Others panicked when the pathways shifted. Ethan observed the movements carefully. He noticed small patterns in the shifting paths, minor vibrations that hinted at which platform would move next. Instead of running blindly, he walked with caution and clever timing. He reached the end faster than most aliens, not because he was stronger or faster, but because he watched, learned, and adapted. Liara watched from a distance, her violet eyes narrowing in interest. She was surprised by his focus. Most humans she had heard of were impulsive. Ethan, however, combined patience with boldness, a combination rare in her experience. The next trial tested strength and endurance. Ethan was given a weighted exosuit and instructed to climb a vertical course made of alien rock and metal. Many thought this would be impossible for a human. The exosuit was bulky, and the path twisted unpredictably in 3 dimensions. At first, Ethan struggled. His muscles ached and his hands slipped several times, but he refused to give up. Using clever leverage and observing how the surfaces responded to his weight, he found ways to balance himself and climb steadily. Every slip taught him something new, and eventually he reached the top. The aliens watching gasped. Humans were supposed to be fragile, yet this one had persevered through extreme difficulty. Liara made a note in her holographic tablet, intrigued by how Ethan combined intelligence with determination. She was beginning to understand why she had felt drawn to him in the marketplace. The third trial focused on morality and quick decision-making. A simulated scenario was presented. Several alien villagers were trapped in a collapsing structure, and Ethan had to decide whom to save first. Every choice mattered, and delays could cause casualties. Most aliens hesitated, analyzing every option, trying to maximize efficiency without considering instinct. Ethan acted immediately, prioritizing the most vulnerable, the children and the elderly. He guided them to safety first, then returned to help the others. The princess observed silently, a mixture of surprise and admiration in her expression. Humans, in her world, were known for creativity and risk-taking, but they often acted selfishly when confronted with life-or-death situations. Ethan's choices showed empathy and courage, qualities that fascinated her. After the trials, Ethan spent time with Princess Liara in the palace gardens. At first, their conversations were formal. She asked about his homeworld, the Earth colonies, and his experiences traveling through space. Ethan spoke humbly, sharing both his successes and mistakes. He admitted he had never imagined himself as a hero. He only acted when he saw someone in need. Liara smiled faintly. "Many claim bravery," she said. "Few actually demonstrate it when it matters." She studied him carefully. "You do not act for recognition or reward." "That is unusual," Ethan shrugged. "I guess I never thought about it. I just do what I can." The next trial tested strategy and negotiation. Ethan had to mediate a dispute between two alien factions who disagreed on resource allocation. The factions were hostile, proud, and suspicious of outsiders. Most mediators failed because they tried to impose solutions without listening. Ethan listened. He observed the body language, tone, and priorities of each faction. Instead of picking a side or forcing a compromise, he found a creative solution that addressed the core needs of both parties. The aliens were astonished. Not only had a human mediated successfully, but he had also earned their respect. Princess Liara watched closely, impressed not just by his cleverness, but by his ability to remain calm under pressure. He didn't panic, argue, or try to manipulate outcomes for personal gain. He simply solved problems logically, compassionately, and efficiently. While the trials were ongoing, Ethan also encountered challenges beyond the planned tests. Some palace nobles were openly skeptical of him. They whispered about his species being weak or unworthy. Some even tried to sabotage his progress by providing false information or creating obstacles in secret. Ethan faced these quietly. He didn't confront them with anger or pride. Instead, he observed carefully, figured out the traps, and adapted his approach. Each challenge made him stronger. Each obstacle taught him something new. Slowly, even the skeptics began to acknowledge that humans might have untapped potential they had never imagined. One evening, Liara took Ethan aside to show him a part of the palace rarely seen by outsiders, a terrace overlooking the city. The sky was alight with multiple moons and distant stars. "You have survived every challenge I've presented," she said softly. "But the greatest test is not about strength or intelligence. It is about your character, how you act when faced with fear, temptation, or uncertainty." Before Ethan could respond, a sudden alarm echoed through the palace. A controlled hazard, a collapsing structure meant for a final trial, was triggered prematurely by one of the jealous nobles. The garden area shook violently and structures began to fall around them. Without hesitation, Ethan acted. He grabbed Liara's arm and pulled her out of harm's way. He guided her through falling debris and unpredictable hazards, using both quick thinking and courage. Every step demanded agility, precision, and trust. Liara followed closely, amazed at his instinctive bravery. Where many humans would have panicked, Ethan remained calm, calculating the safest path while protecting her. Finally, they reached a safe area, and the structure collapsed behind them with a thunderous crash. Ethan's heart raced, but he looked at Liara and smiled modestly. "You're safe," he said simply. Liara's eyes reflected awe and respect. She had observed humans before, but none had ever shown such courage, intelligence, and empathy in combination. She realized that choosing a human was no longer a mere curiosity. It was a possibility that excited her. Over the next days, the palace whispered about the human who had survived every trial and saved the princess. Ethan was no longer just a visitor. He was becoming a symbol of human capability and potential. Even the skeptical nobles could not ignore his qualities. Princess Liara spent more time with him, observing his interactions with others, noting how he treated every alien with respect, regardless of status or species. She began to see a pattern. Humans, at their best, combined intelligence, courage, and morality in ways that challenged even the most advanced alien expectations. One afternoon, as they walked through the palace's grand library, Liara spoke softly. "You have proven more than skill or strength," she said. "You have proven that humanity has qualities worth noticing, perhaps even worth trusting." Ethan laughed nervously. "I'm just a human. I don't know if I deserve that kind of trust." Liara looked at him closely, her expression thoughtful. "Perhaps it is not about deserving, but about potential. You have shown what humans can do. That is why I am watching you so carefully." Ethan felt a mix of pride and humility. He had never imagined that his curiosity, courage, and simple desire to help others would lead him here, being observed, tested, and perhaps considered for a role of immense importance. The sun began to set over Zithera, casting long shadows across the floating city. Ethan and Liara stood on the terrace watching the glow of the alien city beneath them. For Ethan, the trials were more than just tests. They were lessons. He had learned to trust himself, to rely on his instincts, and to act with integrity, even in unfamiliar worlds. For Liara, he was becoming something more than an interesting anomaly. He was a glimpse of what humanity could represent: courage, cleverness, and a moral center that even her advanced civilization rarely saw. As the sky darkened and stars began to appear, both knew that the true challenges were yet to come. The trials had shown potential, but the real test would be the relationship between a human and an alien princess in a world filled with politics, danger, and skepticism. And in that moment, both felt a spark of anticipation. Something important had begun, and neither of them could predict how far it would go. After the trials in the palace, Princess Liara made a surprising announcement. Ethan would accompany her on a diplomatic mission to the neighboring planet of Kareth, a world known for its harsh environments and unpredictable leaders. The mission was delicate. A successful negotiation could secure an alliance, while failure could spark conflict. Liara's advisors were wary. Many thought a human was too inexperienced for such an important task. But she trusted what she had seen in Ethan. Ethan was both nervous and excited. He had never faced anything like this. Unlike the controlled palace trials, this mission would test him in real danger, where lives and reputations were at stake. He didn't know what awaited them, but he knew one thing: he could not fail. The journey to Kareth was long, passing through asteroid fields and solar storms. Liara spent the trip observing Ethan closely. "Humans are known for courage," she said one evening, her violet eyes reflecting the starlight. "But courage alone is not enough. You must think, adapt, and survive." Ethan nodded. "I'll do my best." Upon arriving, the stark difference between Kareth and Zithera became clear. Kareth was rugged and barren, with jagged mountains and violent storms that could strike without warning. Its cities were built into the cliffs, connected by narrow bridges and tunnels carved from stone. The environment was treacherous, and the locals were just as dangerous, cunning and suspicious, always expecting deception. Their first challenge came almost immediately. As their shuttle landed on a cliffside platform, a group of Carethian mercenaries attempted to ambush them, hoping to prevent the delegation from entering the city. Liara prepared for battle, but Ethan stepped forward. "Stay behind me," he said. Liara raised an eyebrow. "Do you know what you're doing?" "I'll figure it out," Ethan replied. The human's unpredictability gave him an advantage. While the aliens expected a frontal confrontation, Ethan used his environment to his benefit. He kicked loose stones to block paths, ducked behind structures, and drew the mercenaries into traps without needing advanced weaponry. His actions were precise, adaptive, and instinctive. Within moments, the mercenaries were disarmed and fleeing. Liara watched silently, impressed. "Most humans would panic," she said softly. You are different." Inside the city, the negotiations began. Carethian leaders were proud, suspicious, and skilled in deception. Many had tried to outwit alien diplomats from Zithera before, and most had succeeded. Ethan's presence was unusual. Humans were considered weak and easy to manipulate. The Carithians assumed he would be irrelevant, Ethan observed quietly. He noticed subtle cues, a flicker in an official's eyes, a hesitation in their voice, a slight shift in stance. Using these observations, he asked careful questions and offered suggestions that highlighted common goals rather than differences. His insights were unexpected, even to Liara. During one particularly tense session, a Carithian diplomat tried to trick Ethan into agreeing to unfair terms, assuming he would not notice. Ethan paused, thought quickly, and responded calmly, turning the situation to a solution that benefited both sides. The Carithians were shocked. Not only had a human caught their deception, but he had also provided a better outcome. Liara leaned slightly toward him. "You are proving your worth far beyond what anyone expected." Ethan felt a surge of pride but kept his focus. "I'm just trying to help," he said. Their mission continued with a series of challenges, navigating dangerous terrain, surviving sudden storms, and facing Carithian political schemes. Each time, Ethan's human ingenuity and courage became invaluable. Where aliens relied on strength, technology, or tradition, he relied on observation, creativity, and quick thinking. One day, as they traveled through a canyon, a landslide blocked their path. Rocks and debris threatened to crush them, and time was critical. Ethan quickly analyzed the terrain and found a narrow path along the cliff that others had overlooked. Guiding Liara carefully, he led them to safety. The princess could not hide her admiration. "You think clearly under pressure," she said quietly. "That is rare, not just for humans, but for anyone." Ethan smiled, brushing dust from his jacket. "I guess it comes naturally when your life depends on it." During the mission, Ethan also earned the trust of alien allies. Some younger Carithian officials, impressed by his intelligence and courage, began to see humans in a new light. They whispered that humans might have hidden strengths their histories had never revealed. Liara noticed this subtle shift and felt satisfaction in witnessing her human companion quietly changing opinions without seeking recognition. The turning point came on the final day of negotiations. A Carithian official attempted a bold attack, intending to kidnap Liara and derail the talks. Chaos erupted in the city streets as guards scrambled to respond. Ethan did not hesitate. He grabbed Liara's hand and pulled her into a side alley, shielding her from flying debris and approaching attackers. He used the narrow streets to his advantage, leading their pursuers into traps and obstacles. His actions were swift, clever, and fearless. At one critical moment, a massive piece of rubble threatened to fall directly on Liara. Ethan shoved her out of the way, taking the brunt of the impact himself. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he gritted his teeth and kept moving. The attackers were disoriented by his unexpected tactics, and the princess was safe. Once the danger passed, Liara looked at him, eyes wide with astonishment and something deeper, respect, awe, and admiration. "You risked yourself for me," she whispered. Ethan brushed off her concern. "Of course. I couldn't let anything happen to you." That night, after the city had calmed and the negotiations concluded successfully, Liara and Ethan sat on a terrace overlooking the cliffside city. Stars shone brightly above them, and the soft hum of alien life filled the air. "You have done more than survive," Liara said softly. "You have proven your courage, your intelligence, and your loyalty. You have shown qualities I did not expect from a human." Ethan looked at her, unsure what to say. I'm just me. I do what I think is right." Liara smiled faintly. "And that is why you stand out. You are unpredictable in ways that are valuable. You are remarkable." For the first time, Ethan realized the truth. His actions were changing the way an alien civilization viewed humanity. Not because he wanted to impress anyone, but simply because he acted with courage, intelligence, and empathy. The mission to Kareth ended successfully. The alliance was strengthened, and the Carithians began to reconsider their assumptions about humans. Ethan had done more than assist the princess. He had subtly altered perceptions about his species. As they prepared to leave Kareth, Liara placed a hand lightly on Ethan's arm. "I have made many observations during this mission. You have exceeded every expectation. You are not just a capable companion. You are someone I trust, someone I admire." Ethan felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his composure. "I only did what I had to do," he said. Liara's eyes met his, serious and intense. Perhaps, but that is exactly why I choose to keep you by my side. Humans are underestimated, but you have proven they are more than capable, and you have proven yourself worthy of attention. Ethan didn't fully understand all the implications of her words, but he sensed their importance. This mission had been dangerous, challenging, and full of surprises. Yet through every test, every peril, every moment of uncertainty, he had shown the best of humanity. As their shuttle lifted off Kareth, Ethan looked at the alien landscape below, jagged and beautiful. He realized that his journey with Liara was far from over. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, mysteries, and opportunities, and now he knew that he had a place beside the alien princess, not just as a human visitor, but as a trusted companion whose courage, ingenuity, and heart had earned recognition across worlds. Liara watched him quietly, a faint smile on her lips. This human, she whispered to herself, may be the one I have been searching for. The stars stretched out before them, endless and full of possibility. And for the first time, Ethan understood that his presence, small, human, and underestimated, could change the course of events in ways no one had predicted. The adventure was far from over, but the foundation had been laid. Ethan had proven himself in real danger, and Princess Liara had begun to see the human not as a curiosity, but as someone extraordinary. The galaxy waited, and so did their next challenge. Back on Zithra, the return from Kareth was met with a mixture of awe and skepticism. News of Ethan's actions had spread throughout the palace and city. The Carithians had spoken highly of the human who had accompanied Princess Liara, survived every danger, and proved himself courageous and clever. Some aliens admired him, but others, especially the conservative nobles, were uneasy. Ethan himself had little time to rest. Liara requested his presence in the royal council chambers the morning after their arrival. The room was filled with high-ranking nobles, advisors, and officials, all whispering among themselves as Ethan entered. Most turned to glance at him, curiosity mixed with doubt. Humans were rare, and few had been allowed this close to the royal court. Liara stood at the center of the room, her silver hair glowing softly under the lights. She raised her hand and the room fell silent. "This human," she said clearly, her voice carrying authority, "has proven his worth. He has courage, intelligence, and loyalty. He has acted bravely where many would hesitate, and he has shown qualities that should be respected." A murmur ran through the nobles. Some scoffed. Others looked uneasy. A few, mainly the younger advisors, whispered their agreement. Ethan felt the weight of their scrutiny. He was used to danger and tests, but this was different. Here words and politics carried power. He had to remain calm, humble, and confident. One elder noble spoke up, his tone sharp and disapproving. "Princess, with all respect, he is a human. They are fragile, untested in matters of state. How can you trust him with such responsibility?" Liara turned her gaze to him, violet eyes steady. "You underestimate him," she said calmly. "He is no ordinary human. He has faced challenges none of you could imagine. His actions on Kareth proved his worth." The noble's face flushed with indignation. "And what of protocol? Our traditions? Our customs? Can a human ever truly understand them?" Ethan stepped forward cautiously. "I may be different, and I may not know everything about your customs, but I can observe, learn, and act in ways that respect your traditions while helping solve problems. I do not claim to be perfect, only willing to do my best." Liara nodded subtly, her hand resting lightly on his arm. The princess's support gave him courage. "He has earned the right to stand here," she said, "and his deeds speak louder than any argument about tradition." A tense silence followed. Then, in a bold move, Liara raised her hand again. "I make my choice." Her voice rang out with authority and finality. She pointed directly at Ethan. "This is the human I choose." The room erupted. Shock, whispers, gasps, and even some laughter echoed through the chamber. The princess had made a public declaration, choosing a human as her companion, a choice that many had never anticipated, and some considered outrageous. Ethan froze for a moment, overwhelmed. All eyes were on him. He had expected challenges, maybe skepticism, but not this sudden declaration. Liara's eyes softened. "Do not be afraid," she said quietly. "I have seen your actions. I have seen your courage. You are capable." The elder noble who had challenged her stepped forward, voice raised. "Princess!" "This is scandalous. A human is not suitable for royal duties. You are placing yourself and our kingdom at risk. Liara's expression hardened. I am aware of the risks, she replied evenly. But courage, intelligence, and morality are not defined by species. This human has shown qualities that surpass many of your own. His actions prove he is worthy. Some nobles grumbled in protest while others remained silent, unsure of how to respond. The younger advisors, inspired by Ethan's actions, began to murmur support. Slowly, the room's tension shifted, a small recognition that humans might be underestimated no longer. Despite the court's mixed reactions, Ethan felt a sense of calm. He had survived dangers, solved problems, and acted with integrity. Now he had to prove himself in matters of diplomacy and politics, an entirely different challenge. The following days were filled with formal events, ceremonies, and meetings. Ethan observed carefully, learning how Zitharan politics worked. He was cautious, respectful, and attentive. Whenever a dispute arose, he contributed his perspective, often offering creative solutions that others overlooked. Liara noticed his subtle influence. The human did not seek recognition, but his intelligence and calm reasoning gradually began to sway some of the more open-minded nobles. Even skeptics were forced to admit that Ethan's insights were valuable. One afternoon, a rival faction attempted a bold move. They tried to undermine Ethan by challenging his understanding of the court's customs, hoping he would make a mistake in front of everyone. The human calmly studied the situation, asked careful questions, and responded with both humility and confidence. His answer satisfied the court's elders, and the rivals were left frustrated. Liara's eyes glimmered with pride. You continue to impress, she said quietly. Not just with courage, but with wisdom. Ethan shook his head modestly. I'm learning. I just want to do what's right. Then came the ultimate test. A coup attempt by a rival faction threatened the palace. Guards clashed in the corridors, alarms rang, and chaos spread. Many nobles fled or hid, but Liara remained determined to protect her people. Ethan did not hesitate. He ran beside her, guiding her through the labyrinthine halls, anticipating dangers and helping her avoid the attackers. In one critical moment, a heavy support beam began to fall. Without thinking, Ethan grabbed Liara and pushed her out of the way, taking the impact on his own shoulder. Pain shot through him, but he did not falter. Together, they navigated the palace safely, reaching a secure area where the loyal guards had regrouped. Breathing heavily, Liara looked at him, admiration and gratitude shining in her eyes. You risked yourself. Again, she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly, wincing from the pain. Of course. You're the princess. It's my duty to protect you. The coup was quelled, and the palace slowly returned to order. News of Ethan's bravery spread quickly, leaving even the most skeptical nobles with a new perspective. A human had not only survived trials and dangers, but had saved the princess and demonstrated extraordinary courage in the process. In the days that followed, the court gradually accepted Ethan's presence. His intelligence, bravery, and empathy began to earn him allies. Even some of the older, more traditional nobles recognized that humans were underestimated. Liara and Ethan spent quiet moments together, discussing strategy, politics, and the challenges ahead. She began to see him not just as a brave companion, but as someone who understood loyalty, morality, and courage, qualities she valued above all else. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the palace, Liara spoke softly. You have faced danger, politics, and skepticism, and yet you remain calm, capable, and true to yourself. You have earned more than admiration. You have earned trust. Ethan looked at her, humbled. I just want to do my best. That's all I can promise. Liara smiled. That is enough. And it is why I have chosen you, not just for what you do, but for who you are. The announcement, the trials, and the coup had all led to this moment. Ethan, a human who many had underestimated, had proven himself worthy of standing beside the alien princess. Not because of strength alone, not because of lineage or power, but because of courage, intelligence, empathy, and the ability to act decisively in moments that mattered most. As the palace settled into calm once more, both Ethan and Liara knew the real challenges were still ahead. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, and the prejudices of some would not fade overnight. But the foundation had been laid. Trust, respect, and admiration had been established, and a human had taken his place among the aliens in ways no one had predicted. Liara placed her hand lightly on Ethan's shoulder. "We will face what comes together," she said. "I trust you, and I believe in what we can achieve." Ethan nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "I'll be ready." The palace lights glimmered under the twin moons, and for the first time, many on Zithra saw humanity in a new light. Not fragile, not weak, not naive, but capable, brave, and remarkable. And somewhere deep in the palace halls, whispers began to spread. Perhaps this human was not just a companion, but a symbol of what humans could offer the galaxy, a new hope, a new perspective, and a reminder that courage and morality often mattered more than species. The days after the coup attempt were filled with activity in the palace. Princess Liara and Ethan worked together to restore order, rebuild trust among the nobles, and secure alliances with neighboring planets. While most aliens still found it unusual that a human had been chosen to stand beside the princess, Ethan's actions left no room for doubt. He was capable, courageous, and honorable. Liara observed him carefully. Every decision he made, every challenge he faced, showed her more about humanity than she had ever expected. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but in ways that were often advantageous. They were creative, brave, and guided by principles that even the most disciplined alien advisors sometimes lacked. One morning, Liara called Ethan to the royal terrace. The sun was rising, painting the floating city in shades of gold and violet. She gestured for him to sit beside her. "Ethan," she said, her voice soft but firm, "you have proven yourself beyond any expectation, not only on Kareth, but here in our palace, in our world. I have watched how you face danger, how you act with integrity, and how you treat others with respect. You are remarkable." Ethan felt a mix of humility and pride. "I never expected any of this," he said. "I'm just trying to do what's right." Liara smiled, a faint warmth in her expression. "And that is precisely why I have chosen you. Not because you are perfect, but because you are human. And in your humanity lies strength that even the most advanced of my people can sometimes lack." Their moment was interrupted by the arrival of the palace council. They had gathered to discuss the final stages of the diplomatic efforts and to formally recognize the human who had changed perceptions across the galaxy. Many of the older nobles still struggled with the idea, but even they could not deny Ethan's achievements. As the council convened, a young advisor spoke up. "Princess, we have seen the human act bravely, solve problems, and guide negotiations with Kareth. His presence has inspired confidence and respect. While unusual, we acknowledge his value." A few skeptical nobles grumbled, but the tide of opinion had shifted. Ethan's actions had earned trust not through words or titles, but through courage, intelligence, and moral integrity. Liara stood and addressed the council formally. "Today I declare that Ethan is not just a guest on Zithra. He is my companion, my trusted ally, and a representative of humanity in our affairs. He has shown qualities that surpass expectations, and his actions have saved lives, prevented conflicts, and inspired change. He is worthy of recognition." The council murmured among themselves, then one by one began nodding in acknowledgement. Some still hesitated, but no one openly opposed her declaration. Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He had not sought recognition, but he understood the significance. His species, long underestimated, was being acknowledged as capable and valuable. After the council meeting, Liara guided Ethan through the palace corridors to a private chamber. "You have faced every challenge, every doubt, every danger," she said softly. "And through it all you have remained true to yourself. That is rare in anyone, let alone a human." Ethan looked at her, unsure what to say. I just did what I thought was right." "That's all?" Liara shook her head, smiling faintly. "It is more than that. It is courage, wisdom, and integrity. It is the ability to act when others hesitate, to protect when others flee, and to lead when others doubt. You have proven humanity's worth, and in doing so you have earned my respect, trust, and my choice." Ethan's heart beat faster. He understood now Liara's choice was not just symbolic. It was personal, meaningful, and powerful. He had earned a place by her side, not because of titles or heritage, but because of his actions and character. Over the following weeks, preparations began for a grand ceremony. The city gathered to witness Princess Liara's declaration and the recognition of the human who had proven himself extraordinary. Banners fluttered, citizens lined the streets, and alien dignitaries arrived from distant planets to witness the historic moment. Ethan, dressed in ceremonial attire he had never imagined wearing, stood beside Liara. The crowd fell silent as she stepped forward. Her silver hair gleamed, her violet eyes scanned the assembly, and her voice rang out with authority. "I have chosen this human," she declared, pointing at Ethan. "Not because he is the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the most experienced. I have chosen him because he embodies courage, intelligence, and morality. He has faced dangers, solved problems, and protected my people. He has shown qualities that surpass expectations and inspire hope. This human is worthy of trust, respect, and recognition." The assembly erupted in applause, cheers, and even some awestruck murmurs. Humans had been underestimated across the galaxy, but here on Zithera, one human had proven that courage and moral integrity could transcend species. Ethan felt a mixture of pride, humility, and responsibility. He understood the weight of Liara's declaration, not just for him, but for humanity as a whole. He had not only earned the princess's trust, but had begun to change perceptions about his species. Later, in the palace gardens, Liara and Ethan walked quietly among glowing flora and softly humming fountains. The noise of the celebration had faded, leaving a serene calm. "You have done more than I imagined," Liara said softly. "You have proven your worth in ways no one could predict. I admire you, Ethan." Ethan shook his head, a small smile on his lips. "I just acted when I had to. That's all anyone can do." Liara stopped walking and looked at him intently. "No, it is more than that. You have changed the way my people see humans. You have shown what courage, intelligence, and morality look like in action. You have inspired hope, and for that I respect you deeply." The two stood in silence, the twin moons reflecting in the palace fountains. For Ethan, the journey had been extraordinary. From a human visitor in a strange world to a trusted companion of a powerful princess. He had faced danger, political intrigue, and skepticism, yet he had emerged proven and respected. Liara placed a hand lightly on his arm. "I have made my choice, and it is final. You are the human I trust, the human I stand with. Together we will face the challenges ahead, and together we will show the galaxy what courage, morality, and humanity can achieve." Ethan nodded, understanding the depth of her words. He had not sought this recognition, but he accepted it, ready to continue the journey beside Princess Liara. In the weeks that followed, Ethan and Liara worked together to strengthen alliances, resolve conflicts, and implement reforms. Humans began to earn respect on Zithera, thanks to Ethan's actions. The palace and city gradually accepted him not as a visitor, but as a valued ally, a symbol of what humans could offer the galaxy. As the story of his courage spread, aliens from distant worlds began to rethink their assumptions about humans. Many began to see them not as fragile or insignificant, but as beings capable of extraordinary deeds, clever solutions, and moral integrity. Ethan, however, remained humble. He did not claim to be a hero, nor did he seek fame. He acted because it was right, because it mattered, and because he could. And in doing so, he had earned something far greater than recognition. He had earned trust, respect, and the companionship of the princess he had come to admire. On a quiet evening, standing atop the palace terrace, looking out over the floating city, Ethan felt a sense of peace. He had faced unimaginable challenges, proven himself in dangerous and political arenas, and had been chosen by Princess Liara, not for his strength alone, but for his courage, intelligence, and integrity. Liara joined him, her gaze fixed on the stars. "The galaxy is vast," she said. "But now we face it together," Ethan nodded. "Together," he agreed, a small smile on his lips. And in that moment, both human and alien understood something important. Bravery, intelligence, and morality knew no species. Courage could inspire, actions could change opinions, and integrity could earn trust across worlds. One human had proven that, and in doing so, had earned a place among the stars not as a visitor, but as a true companion and equal in a galaxy full of challenges, wonder, and possibilities. The galaxy awaited them, vast and mysterious, but Ethan and Liara knew that whatever came next, they would face it side by side. The story of the human who had been chosen by the alien princess would be remembered, not as a tale of superiority, but as a testament to courage, intelligence, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. And so, the human stood beside the princess, a symbol of hope, bravery, and the power of doing what is right, proof that even in a universe filled with advanced civilizations, one human could make a difference that would be remembered for generations.